Is this going to work? Come on now. Come on now. What's going on?
It's over, everybody.
Testing. Testing. Okay, there we go. All right, Most High in Christ. All right, Shalom Israel, Salakia for the tardiness. Had some technical difficulties going on. Shalom Yabashim Shabrakatah to the brothers. Shalom Yahashma Alatah Bashim Yahushai to the sisters. We at the Isupk Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana, and we are not affiliated with any other Israelite group, and we teach the truth that all so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are God's chosen people. So if I could real quick, so we're going to be going over some things in the Bible, right? Because I've been doing some investigation, right? And there's a lot of people out there who don't want you to know the truth. And the truth is that if you are so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native, you are one of God's chosen people, and your duty is to serve the Most High. If you don't, you're going to continue to be cursed by all the things that are continuing to go on with you. You can read about them in Deuteronomy chapter 28. We'll go over that in a little bit. But the reason why I wanted to go over this class is because if you haven't already, you probably see the title of the class. It says the seed of Abraham, but then it also says the curse of Canaan. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is there's a lot of people out there, which I'm pretty sure you already realized, that don't like Black people. They don't like you. They never did. Now, one of those things that they try to do is they try to use the Bible against you. Because when you read in the Bible, you know, the Most High gives a lot of curses, right? But there was one curse in particular called the curse of Canaan, right? And we're going to be going over some of those things, right? They're going to call you a Canaanite. You understand? They're going to call you a Canaanite. They're going to say that you're not one of God's chosen people. They're going to tell you that, you know, you're just a servant of servants. We'll get to all that in a second, right? But I'll just give everybody a chance just to tune in. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll get class going. Oh, and by the way, we're going to be starting out at Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. Let me see. Turn this down. All right, let's see. All right, with that being said, I'm going to get started with the prayers. So, Amijim, oops, again, just me up here for right now. We'll get started. La Yasharala, which means to Israel. Amadim upon Yah Hakwadam, which means to stand and face the east. We get started with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. This is the Lord's Prayer. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemka, Yahweh, Malak with Ka, Taba'ah, Ratzaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'aratzah, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Latan Lanawa, Lakam, Call, Yawam, Wasalak now, Kabawath now, Kasalak now, Kabawathi now, Wala'a, Tabaya now, Banasaiwan, Abal, Hawashai now, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watpara, Lawalumium, Aman. Now in the English, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. Hakak, which is the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Babakasha, Latan Lanawa, Hakak, Darapa'ah, Call, Makala, Wakal, Madawat, Hakak, Latahar, Ha, Matazariah, Hakak, Lahakwaya, Hamathia, Hakak, Ayah, Rakawat, Hatama'ala, Lagar Shum, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, throw water among. In the English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, please give us the power, the power to heal all manner of sickness, and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, in the name of Yahushai. Thank you. So be it. The blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh, Wa Yahushai, Wa Me'aka Allah, Wa Alahayim, Matazab Ya'ah, Alawap Yahana, Ha Alawapim, Ha Saranyam, Ha Kwatazayoyan, Haka Yayoyan, Waha Akwathian, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, throw water among. Now in the English, bless you Yahweh, and Yahushai, and Michael, and the angels, commanding General Yohanan, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai. Thank you. So be it. All right. Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'ah, Ayunya, all, Haharyam, Mayan, Yaba'ah, Izoya, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shemayim, Wa'aratzah, all Yatan, Lamawat, Rogalka, all, Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yayashun, Shawamar, Yasharala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al Yad, Yamyamka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'a, Yakaka, Wairach, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal, Rai, Yashamar, Athnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Taza'avka, Wabawa'avka, Ma'ita, Wa'ai, Awalam. Now in the English, I will lift up my eyes unto the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee
he that keepeth thee
will not slumber.
will not slumber.
Behold,
Behold,
he that keepeth Israel
he that keepeth Israel
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
shall neither slumber nor sleep.
The Lord is thy keeper.
The Lord is thy keeper.
The Lord is thy shade
The Lord is thy shade
upon thy right hand.
upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
The sun shall not smite thee by day,
nor the moon by night.
nor the moon by night.
The Lord shall preserve thee
The Lord shall preserve thee
from all evil.
from all evil.
He shall preserve thy soul.
He shall preserve thy soul.
The Lord shall the Lord shall preserve thy going out
The Lord shall preserve thy going out
and thy coming in
and thy coming in
from this time forth
from this time forth
and even forevermore.
and even forevermore.
All right. Psalms 83 in the Hebrew. Alahayim,
Alahayim,
all, Damaya,
Damaya,
Laka,
Laka,
all,
all,
Dakarash,
Dakarash,
Wa'al,
Wa'al,
Dashakwat,
Dashakwat,
all,
all,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Hana,
Hana,
Awayabika,
Ayawabika,
Yahama,
Yahama,
Yawan,
Yawan,
Ra'ash,
Ra'ash,
Ail,
Ayal,
Imaka,
Imaka,
Ya'ayamwa,
Ya'imwa,
Sawada,
Sawada,
Waita,
Wayata,
Yaitazawa,
Yatazawa,
Ail,
Ayal,
Tazapawanyaka,
Tazapawanika,
Amorwa,
Amarwa,
Lakawa,
Lakawa,
Wanakakidam,
Wanakakida,
Magoya,
Magaya,
Wala'a,
Wala,
Yazakar,
Yazakar,
Shum,
Shum,
Yasharala,
Yasharala,
Iwada,
Iwada,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Naitazawa,
Natazawa,
Laba,
Laba,
Yakadwa,
Yakadwa,
Alyaka,
Iwika,
Baryath,
Bairath,
Yakarathwa,
Yakarathwa,
Ahalya,
Ahaya,
Adawam,
Adawan,
Wa,
Wa,
Yashama'alyam,
Yashmaiah,
Mawa'aba,
Mawa'aba,
Wahagoriam,
Wahagaria,
Gabal,
Gabal,
Waimawan,
Waimawan,
Waimalak,
Waimalak,
Palashath,
Palashat,
Am Yeshabia,
Am Yeshabit,
Tazawar,
Tazawar,
Gum,
Gun,
Ashawar,
Ashawar,
Nalawa,
Nalawa,
Imum,
Imum,
Hiawa,
Hiawa,
Zorawai,
Zarwai,
Labunya,
Labunya,
Lawat,
Lawat,
Salah,
Salah,
Aisha,
Aisha,
Lahum,
Laham,
Kamudyam,
Kamadya,
Kasaya,
Kasaya,
Sara'ah,
Sara'ah,
Kayabya,
Kayabya,
Banakal,
Banakal,
Quayashwan,
Quayashwan,
Nashamudwa,
Nisharmawa,
Bayan,
Bayan,
Dara,
Dara,
Hiawa,
Hiawa,
Daman,
Daman,
La Adama,
La Adama,
Shayatamwa,
Shaitamwa,
Nada,
Nada,
Yamawa,
Yamawa,
Kairab,
Kairab,
Wakaza Abba,
Wakazahab,
Wakaza Ba,
Wakazabak,
Wakazazol,
Wakazazol,
Manai,
Manai,
Call,
Call,
Nasayakama,
Nasim Yakum,
Ashar,
Ashor,
Amarwa,
Amarwa,
Nayarasha,
Yanayarasha,
Lanawa,
Lanawa,
Af,
Af,
Nawaf,
Naiwa,
Alahayim,
Alahaya,
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 Shayatamwa,
Shaitamwa,
Kagogala,
Kagagala,
Kakwash,
Shakwash,
Lapunya,
Lapunya,
Raka'a,
Ra'aka'a,
Ka'ash,
Ka'ash,
Tabaira,
Tabaira,
Ya'ira,
Ya'ira,
Wa,
Wa,
Kalahaba,
Kalaba,
Talahat,
Salahat,
Aryum,
Aryum,
Kun,
Kun,
Dardatma,
Daradatma,
Basairaka,
Yasairaka,
Wabasa,
Wabasa,
Wapathka,
Wapathka,
Tabahalam,
Tabahalam,
Mala'a,
Malaa,
Panyahum,
Panyaham,
Kuala
Kualawan,
Waya,
Waya,
Bakwashwa,
Makarshwa,
Shimka,
Shamka,
Yahawa,
Yahawa,
Yabashwa,
Yabashwa,
Waya,
Waya,
Bahawa,
Baharwa,
Adyai,
Adyai,
Waya,
Waya,
Kaparwa,
Kaparwa,
Waya,
Waya,
Abadwa,
Abadwa,
Waya,
Waya,
Daiwa,
Daiwa,
Kaya,
Kaya,
Ata,
Atta,
Shumka,
Shamka,
Yahawa,
Yahawa,
Labadka,
Labadka,
Alyawam,
Ayawa,
I'll
I'll
call
call
Haratazah.
Haratazah.
Now in the English, keep not thy silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace,
Hold not thy peace,
and be not still,
and be not still,
O God.
O God.
For lo,
Thine
thine enemies make atonement,
enemies make atonement,
and they that hate thee
and they that hate
have lifted up the head.
have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel
They have taken crafty counsel
against thy people,
against thy people,
and consulted
consulted
against thy hidden ones.
against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
They have said,
Come,
Come,
and let us cut them off
let us cut them off
from being a nation,
from being a nation,
that the name of Israel
that the name of Israel
may be no more remembrance.
may be no more in remembrance.
For they have consulted together
For they have consulted together
with one consent.
with one consent.
They are confederate against thee.
They are confederate against
The tabernacles of Edom,
the tabernacles of Edom,
and the Ishmaelites
and the Ishmaelites
of Moab,
and
the Hagarenes,
the Hagarenes,
Gabal,
Gabal,
and Ammon,
and Ammon,
and Amalek,
and Amalek,
and the Philistines,
and the Philistines,
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
Assur also is joined with them.
Assur also was joined with them.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
Salah.
Salah,
Do unto them
do unto them
as unto the Midianites,
as unto the Midianites,
as to Sisera,
as to Sisera,
as to Jabin,
as to Jabin,
at the brook of Kison,
at the brook of Kison,
which perished at Endor.
perished that endured.
That became, they became as dung for the earth.
They became as done for the earth.
Make their nobles like a red.
Make their nobles like a red.
and like Zaid,
and like Zaid,
yea,
yea,
all their princes,
all their princes,
as Zabak,
as Sabbath,
and as Zalmunna,
and as Amunah,
who said,
let us
take to ourselves
take to ourselves
the houses of God in possession.
the houses of God in possession.
Oh my God,
Oh my God,
make them like a wheel,
make them like a wheel,
as a stubble before the wind,
as a stubble before the wind,
as the fire burneth the wood,
as a fire burneth the wood,
and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire.
as the flame set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them
So persecute them
with thy tempest,
with thy tempest,
make them afraid
make them afraid
with thy storm,
with thy storm,
fill their faces with shame,
fill their faces with shame,
that they may seek thy name.
that they may seek thy name.
O Lord,
O Lord,
let them be confounded
let them be confounded
and troubled
and troubled
forever.
forever.
Yea,
Yea,
let them be put to shame
let them be put to shame
and perish,
and perish,
that men may know
that men may know
that thou,
that thou,
whose name alone
whose name alone
is Yahweh,
is Yahweh,
art the most high
art the most high
over all the earth.
over all the earth.
Put that right there. All right, you may be seated. All right, so today's class, we'll talk about a couple of things, right? So, matter of fact, I was going to start in Genesis, but you know what? I think I changed my mind. We'll still go to Genesis, but this time, let's see. Let's go to chapter 9, right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 9. And let's go to verse, let's see, 25. Get to 25. 20, 21, Let me see. Genesis chapter 9. Let's go to Genesis chapter 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see. Let's go to Genesis chapter 9, verse 18. Let's do that. Genesis chapter 9, verse 18. And before we begin, as you already know, read the first 7 verses in the Hebrew. Let's see. Yeah, 18. Okay. So this is the book of Genesis, chapter 9, verse 18 in the Hebrew. Waya ayad ba'anya na'ath haya hataza'a ya'am. Let's see. Ma'an ha'ath ba'a ash. Or shum salakia. Let's see. Yaka'am. No, yeah. Ya, let's see. Waya pa'ath. Let's see. Waka'am. Ha wa'a. Abaya. Let's see. Bana'ai. Bana'ain. Let's see. Shalash aba'a ba banaya naach wa ma'a ba'a napataza ba, let's see, ball dataza. Let's see, waya all Naath, Asham, let me see, Da Ha'adaam Ma'a, Wayata'ai, Badaam, Wayasham, let's see, yeah, Wayasham, that's something that always gets me. Let's see, Ma'an, Ya'an, Wayashaba'ad, Wayatha Ga'al, Batha Ya'ad. Let me see. Let me see. Aha Ba'a, Aha'al La'an, Wayada'a, Thumb, or Abaya, Bana'ayan, Ath, let's see. Adayaan, Wa'an, Salakia, Abayaan, see, Ga'ad, let's see, Lasha Anya, Akayawa, Bakaya, see, Bakayataza, let me see, Kwaka'a, Shum, Pa'ath, Kasha Mabla'a, Wayashaya, let's see, Washama'an, no. Wayashaya Ma'an, let's see, that is I'll Shaba'am, Naya Ha'am, Waya La Baya, let me see. Akada Naya'ath, Waya Ba Ma. Waya Ba Maya, Ath, let's see. Ida Ya'ath, Abaya Ha'am, let's see. Kwa Naya Ha'am, Akadai Na Ya'ath, almost, let's see. Wa'ai Da Ya'ath, Abaya Ha'am, La'a, see, Da'a Ya'a, Wayaya Kwataza, Naka'a, Ba Maya Daya, Waya Da Taza, that's the I, Salakia. Ashamad, Aisha Ka Ba'an, Ba Naya, Hakwa Ta'an, let me see, Waya Ma'ad. Let's see, Da, Bana Ayon, I ba'ad ya. Oops, like you. I ba da ya'am. Yaha ya. La la'aka ya. Okay. All right. So that's it for the Hebrew. So let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 9, and let's go to verse 18. If you could read that for me. Genesis chapter 9, verse 18. No, you too well. You need a sword, or you already got it? Oh, you do need one? There should be, I think there's one behind you back there. Yeah, Genesis chapter 9, verse 18. We'll start there.
The book of Genesis, chapter 9, verse 18.
Go ahead.
And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth.
So it says Shem and Ham and Japheth. So these are the three sons of Noah, right? Go ahead.
And Ham is the father of Canaan.
Ham is the father of who?
And Ham is the father of Canaan.
Okay. Now let's just make sure Ham is the father of Canaan. Now, before we continue, I don't got my Zondervans with me at the moment, but those who have been in class long enough should know that Ham, right? Ham in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary is the progenitor of the dark races. It mentions the Libyans, the Egyptians. It mentions the Ethiopians, and it also mentions, let's see, Canaanites. What you got?
I got a picture of the definition.
Oh, you do? Oh, well, matter of fact, you could step right here. The water, I appreciate it. For water, got it. All right, for water, I appreciate that. So, what's high in Christ to this, brother? So I'm actually going to read it for you. So this is the definition of Ham, right? The progenitor of the dark races in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. The youngest son of Noah, as we just read, born probably about 96 years before the flood. And one of 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, but it specifically says not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Now, I'm not going to get to that part yet because we're going to read that. Thawad, I appreciate that. Now, I seen recently, right? There's been a lot of fake Israelites that have been trying to battle brothers and stuff, right? And one of them brought up something that I found very intriguing, but he ended up cutting himself because of this, right? So he went into, I believe it was the Zondervan's Encyclopedia Revised. Now, for those who don't know, right, one of the authors for the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary was J.D. Douglas. He was a black man. He did practice Christianity, but, you know, brother was in the world, but he did at least have some understanding of the Bible, but he didn't have the full truth, right? Now, one of the other authors, let me see, was a white man. See if I can get y'all his name real quick. Merrill C. Tenney. Merrill C. Tenney was a Edomite, right? Now, in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, it said that, you know, these are the progenitors of Aslagia. Ham was the progenitor of the dark races that we just read, but it says not the Negroes. They excluded the Negroes, right? Now, in the revised version, I'm gonna end up ordering it, Salakia, because I just seen it the other day. In the revised version, J.D. Douglas is not the author. It's still Michael Slakia. Make sure I get the name correct. I got it right here. Merrill Slakia. Merrill C. Tenney, right? He was the author. And let me see. Let me get one more thing for y'all. Let me see. I'm trying to remember who the other author was. I believe they were both white men, if I'm not mistaken. See if I can just get it real quick. Encyclopedia, okay. Now let's see if I can get the author. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. It's not telling me the author. I need the author. Moises Silva. There we go. Moises Silva, who was also a Edomite. You understand? Now, this was the revised version, right? So they go deeper into the progenitors or the descendants, Salakia, of Ham. And in there, this just shows you the nature of the so-called white man. So they ended up switching it. They ended up saying that the Negroes were of Ham. And if you go deeper into it, right, they try to say that Negroes, the reason why they called them that is because they weren't deemed human. These people didn't even deem you human. And they tried to switch it and say that, oh, well, actually, you are the descendants of Ham. Do you want to know why they said that? We're going to read this, right? This is why you got to get into class and properly get edified on the Bible. So let's go to Genesis chapter 9, verse 19.
The book of Genesis, chapter 9, verse 19.
Go ahead.
These are the three sons of Noah,
right?
And of them was the whole earth overspread.
Mm-hmm.
And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
And he drank of the wine and was drunken.
Mm-hmm.
And he was uncovered with his tent.
So right here, Noah got a little tipsy. You understand? He got drunk off that wine, right? And it says that he drank of the wine and was drunken, of course, and he was uncovered with his tent, meaning that he was naked. Like, I don't want to say imagine it, but I mean, we can all use our imagination. Just imagine somebody, he's just plastered drunk, right? Plastered drunk, and he's just laid over the couch, and he's just bearing it all for everybody to see because he's just so drunk. Go ahead.
And Ham, the father of Canaan.
The father of who?
The father of Canaan.
Go ahead.
Saw the nakedness of his father.
So he saw the nakedness of his father. So let's continue to read, right?
And told his two brethren without.
Mm-hmm.
And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. So
they covered the nakedness of their father, right? So Shem and Japheth, right? Shem and Japheth, they saw their father and they're like, oh, snap. Dad, he a little too drunk. Let's have some dignity for our father and let's cover him. Keep reading.
And their faces were backward.
Mm-hmm. Their faces were backward so they could not see their father being in his nakedness. Go ahead.
And they saw not their father's nakedness.
Pretty much what I just said. Keep reading.
And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants.
It says, cursed be who?
Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants.
A servant of servants. Keep reading.
Shall he be unto his brethren.
Now, this is the part right here, right? So this is what Christians, right? You can even Google this. You can go on Wikipedia, right? Christians try to use the curse of Canaan to justify slavery towards Black people, right? Because Canaanites, I believe those will be your South Africans today, right? Now, the reason why they do this is because, well, the white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of, right? And Christians own slaves. White Christians own slaves. So they try to twist this doctrine and tell you, oh, well, it was already prophesied. You're one of the descendants of Ham, so that's why you were put into slavery. This is what people who are not in the truth try to do to you. They try to use the Bible against you. This is why it's good practice to read and to study. And if you're not in the school, get in the school. Because if you're not in the school, this will trip up your average Black person. A Black person that believes in the Bible, this will trip them up. They'll think, oh man, I guess I'm a Canaanite, right? Servant of servants. That sounds like slavery. You understand? Right? Now, keep reading to the next verse.
And he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem.
God of who?
God of Shem.
Now, God of Shem, right? Now, God of Shem, if you don't know, right? Shem, Abraham, right, comes from the lineage of Shem. Matter of fact, we're going to get that. Because this is what Christians and people who really hate Black people are going to try to use to twist and tell you, oh, well, this is why, this happens to you. You're not God's chosen people. You're one of the descendants of Canaan because it said that you shall be a servant of servants. You understand? So, matter of fact, hold on. Okay, yeah. So let's go, right? Give me Genesis chapter 11. And let's go to verse 10.
The book of Genesis, chapter 11, verse 10.
Uh-huh.
These are the generations of Shem.
The generations of Shem. Keep reading.
Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood.
Now, right, go to verse 26, because this is going to be a long list of the people who are the descendants of Shem, right? So let's go and get straight to Genesis chapter 11, verse 26.
Verse 26. And Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram.
Begat who?
And begat Abram.
Begat Abram. It doesn't say Abraham. So who is Abram? Is Abram Abraham? Let's read it in the Bible, right? Let's see. Let me get it for you. Let's see. And I believe it's like I just gotta double check which one. Okay, Genesis. Give me Genesis 17 and 5, if you could. Genesis 17 and 5. Let's just clarify that Abram and Abraham are the same person, right?
The book of Genesis, chapter 17, verse 5.
Go ahead.
Neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram.
So his name will not be anymore be called Abram. Keep reading.
But thy name shall be Abraham.
Abraham. So Abram is Abraham, right? Give me, Salakia, brother. I'm gonna have you flipping through a lot of stuff. Salakia. Let me see. Get Exodus chapter 3. Exodus chapter 3, verse 6. Right? Let's just clear. Let's make sure we walk through everything step by step real quick, right? So the book of Exodus chapter 3, verse 6.
The book of Exodus chapter 3, verse 6. Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham.
The God of who?
The God of Abraham.
Keep going.
The God of Isaac.
The God of Isaac.
And the God of Jacob.
And the God of Jacob. Matter of fact, you ain't even got to go to this one. I'll just bring it out. Genesis 35 and 10, where Jacob's name gets changed to Israel, right? So you can drop that, right? And you can actually go to Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. So the reason why I'm bringing all this out, right, is because people will try. I want brothers and sisters to understand this, right? People hate that you're in the Isupk. They hate you. They want to do everything that they possibly can to get you up out of the school. They do not want you thinking that you are one of God's chosen people. You don't want to know how many times this past week I've been called a Canaanite, like religiously. And they use that same verse over and over and over again. Oh, you're a servant of servants. Really, that just shows the racism you're showing, because you're really just calling me a slave. That's all you're doing. You're just calling me a biblical slave. That's all you're doing right now. But here's what they tried to skip over. See, throughout the Bible, it actually talks about slavery way more with Israel, like way more. And it's very specific and thorough. It's not just as simple as, okay, you're a servant of servants. And they just leave it right there. No. It gets deep. All right. So if I could, let me get Genesis chapter. Salakia. I said 12. Salakia. Genesis 15 and 13. Salakia. Let me get Genesis 15 and 13.
The book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 13.
Go ahead.
And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs.
So it says his seed. Who is his seed? Isaac and Jacob. But we're talking about Jacob, right? Israel, the Israelites. You understand the 12 lost tribes of Israel. Keep reading.
And shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
400 years. Now, this is a tricky one right here, right? Because, again, this is why you got to study the Bible. So some people will say, well, that was just in Egypt. You served 400 years in slavery in Egypt. You didn't serve 400 years of slavery in America, because legally, so they tell you, right? In America, it's only been 246 years of slavery. So they tell you. What they don't tell you is under the 13th Amendment, slavery is still legal. Like, it's still legal. Like, in a lot of these prison centers, there's brothers who are working for 4 cents an hour. And guess what? That is actually legalized as slave labor. So slavery never really ended. They want you to think it did, but it didn't. Also, what was it? The Willie Lynch letters, right? I bumped into some Edomite that tried to tell me the Willie Lynch letters were fake. And I'm like, that's how you know you a devil, because you're not even trying to take accountability for the things that your people have done. The Willie Lynch letters were literally made to better enslave Black people, because we were running away. We were fighting back. The best kind of slave is a happy slave. Y'all seen Django, right? Django, was it Samuel L. Jackson and Leonardo DiCaprio? I mean, okay, I'll say this much. Like personal opinion, that's one of my favorite. I hate saying it, but slave movies only because Jamie Foxx, he was he was giving it to them Edomites, man. He was not he was sloggy. My point being is right. That is a perfect representation for Samuel L. Jackson as far as what a happy slave is, because you saw how he loved Leonardo DiCaprio. He loved his master. You understand? So much that he turned against his people. That's why the Bible says you can't serve two masters, whether you hate the one and love the other, right? That's the book of Matthew. That's why, because you're going to turn your back on God. So they couldn't just enslave your body, they had to enslave your mind. And they came up with perfect tactics to do it. Turn the young against the old, turn the man against the woman, turn man against child, turn, oh my goodness, light skin versus dark skin. You still see that with people today. And not just with black people, so-called Hispanics and Native Indians too, right? Because, you know what, I'll get to that in a second. So I'm getting ahead of myself. But these were tactics that our oppressors have come up to better enslave us. That's why you have today where you have a lot of black people, right? A lot of black people who, yeah, you might be free as in like physically, but you love your oppressors. Like I bumped into so many people that tried to save Esau in the Bible, and they thought I was just some dumb ignorant nigga, Salakia, and they thought, okay, yeah, I'm about to trip him up. I'll get to that in a second. And they try to use the Bible against you. That's why you got to learn. You got to learn these things, right? But Salaki, enough of that, right? Let's see. See if I can get it real quick. So we're gonna drop 15 and 13, right? I believe it's in Acts. Go to the book of Acts. I believe it's 7 and 6. I believe it's 7 and 6. Right? Because there's a couple of times where it talks about slave. Well, I can't even say a couple. There's a lot of times it talks about slavery in the Bible. You understand? So if you could, when you get to 7 and 6, could you read it for me, Baba Kasha?
Okay. The book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 6.
Mm-hmm.
And God spake on this wise.
This is the one. Okay. Go ahead.
That his seed should sojourn.
Sojourn, yep.
In a strange land.
Right.
And that they shall bring them into bondage and entreat them evil for 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, said God. And after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place.
See, so Salakia. So that's the end of 7 and 6.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the reason why I'm bringing this up again is because, again, this is talking about Abraham's seed. It says it twice in the Bible, right? Specifically Abraham's seed. Remember, Abraham, or Abram, before his name got changed, he came from the lineage of Shem, not Canaan. This isn't talking about Canaan. This is talking about Israelites, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people. You understand? Now, to get even more in depth on it, give me Deuteronomy chapter 28, right? Let's see. Go to verse, I believe it's 45. Yeah, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 45.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 45.
Uh-huh.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee.
All these curses. So you got to understand, it's not just Canaan that got cursed, right? There's curses that have been given by the Most High. And God has cursed Israel and is still cursing Israel to this day. Now let's read why. Go ahead.
And shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. So
it says right there, right? We did not keep the law, statutes, and commandments. We sinned, and we continue to sin today. Getting high, smoking weed, being an adulteress, being an adulterer, being a whore and a whoremonger, worshiping idols, right? I know some people, they get mad when they see this, right? They get mad when they see the shield of David, and that's like the first thing they bump to, like, oh, you worship the shield of David, or the star of Molech, or whatever crap they try to mess up, right? Oh, you're an idolater. You worship graven images. First of all, look up the term worship. Like, I'm not some Ishmaelite or Elamite, right? I'm not worshiping a stone. You don't see me worshiping the shield of David. But matter of fact, I think it was Priest and Captain Gadalhar, and it was Priest and Officer Tabawan, right? It was during One West Radio, and there was some fake Israelite came on there and tried to say that that we were worshiping false idols because we were rocking the shield of David. Now, they made an excellent analogy because first and foremost, do you not know how many different brands of clothing have a symbol on it? Like if I wear a chain with a lion on it, do I worship a lion? No. If I wear Nikes, do I worship Nike? Do I worship Adidas? Do I worship Reebok? Do I be reasonable? Okay. This is why you got to get in class because people don't have the full understanding of the Bible. Just so everybody knows, we do not worship the shield of David. It's just a part of culture. That's all. David in the Hebrew is Dabodah, which means beloved. That's all. That's all it is. But people will get mad at you for that because they don't know anything. You understand? But going back to what we were speaking of before, right? We sinned against the Most High, and we still continue to. That's why we get cursed. Now, let's keep reading. Go to verse 46.
Come on. Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So it says, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder. You got to understand what this is talking about, right? Like Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people, even though like the world hates us, right? We're like a wonder to people. Like what we do and what we accomplish is so amazing to everybody else. Like perfect example, I forgot where exactly in Japan. You know, they practice Western California Mexican culture. Like, you know, like the flannels and the high tube socks with the chucks, and they got like the tattoos. They even some of them style their hair or get the buzz cut. They try to look like Mexicans or so-called Isuprites today. That's what they do. All them dances they be doing, learning how to b-boy and hip-hop. Who made that up? Black people. Other nations love to copy you. I seen, oh my gosh, it was somewhere in the Middle East. They're trying to copy a Chief Keef song, and it sounded absolutely horrendous, by the way. But they try. You get my point? Matter of fact, in Africa, they are now trying to mimic drill music. Where did drill music originate from? Y'all listen to Pop Smoke, right? Pop Smoke, what was it? Fabio Foreign, you know, a lot of New York rappers, right? They do like their version of drill music. And now you got Hamites trying to mimic that in America. And I called somebody out on it, and then the African was like, no, we're not. No, we're not. Nobody want to be like y'all, so why y'all still in our music then? Y'all type of music was like Afrobeat. You know, that's y'all stuff. Okay, that's what y'all do. That's what y'all do. Now you're trying to do drill music? Come on now. We're a wonder to people. Keep reading.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness,
right,
and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
Go ahead.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things.
You two, I'll keep going.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck,
right,
until he have destroyed thee.
Until he have destroyed thee. So right here, right, this is talking about the things that the Most High is going to do to you because you choose not to listen to him. It says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies. Serve. You're going to be in slavery. What do Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people do today? We serve other people. Birthdays is not a part of our culture. You only see birthdays 2 times in the Bible, and it's practiced by heathens. You understand? And guess what? People die during those times. But we practice it, right? We practice those things. We worship the Virgin Mary. We celebrate Halloween, Christmas, and Thanksgiving, and all these other things, right? We serve another nation. Why do you think, brothers in the school, we have a nickname for when we go to work? We call it a slavery, because that's what we got to do. We got to make money, right, by working for our oppressor, because all these companies and stuff, you're not working for no Black person. You're not working for no Mexican person. You think you are, but you're really not. Like, realistically, you're really not. You understand? We all have a slavery in a sense. We're serving our enemies. Who are our enemies? Remember, Esau vowed, matter of fact, do I have time? I'm going over a lot today, so don't even worry about that. But Slakia. But right, when Esau and Jacob were born, right? I know this is going to blow some people's mind. Esau is actually Jacob's brother. I know it sounds crazy, right? But it specifically says that they were 2 different nations, and we were fighting in the womb, you understand? And it said that the older shall serve the younger. Esau was the one that was born first. So technically Esau was the firstborn. Now, when Jacob was given the blessing, as he rightfully should have, because it was already prophesied by the Most High, Esau hated Jacob because of it. And the sad part was, the thing is, he gave up the blessing. Like when you read in the Bible, Jacob goes to Esau and asks him to give him the blessing for food. Esau didn't have to give him food. Didn't have to give him the blessing, but he didn't think nothing of it. He was like, I'm hungry at the moment. Here you go, whatever. But then when it came time to get the blessing, what did Esau do? He ran to Isaac and he's like, well, what about me? And Isaac blessed him with the sword. Now, what happened after Esau did that? Esau pledged to pursue Jacob for the rest of his days. He said, my father shall be in mourning, you understand? Because he was going to kill his brother. Now, you got to understand, this is spiritual. He's not just talking about just killing Jacob. No, he's talking about his seed. He's going to torture Israelites. You understand? That's one of your enemies. That's your main enemy right there. And it's not just him. You could read about Balak, who was a Moabite, right? You could read about him in Numbers chapter 22. And Balak was a Moabite king, the so-called Chinese today. And he hated Israelites so much, he wanted to kill all of us. He wanted to kill all of us because we were too strong, we were too mighty. So he went to a false prophet by the name of Balaam, right? Because it was rumored that whatever he blesses shall be blessed, whatever he curses shall be cursed. And he went to him and begged him to plead to the Most High to curse the nation of Israel and kill all of us. But of course, the Most High refused. You understand? Still not good enough for you? In the book of Esther. In the book of Esther, we were living in captivity under the Persians and the Medes. Who was it? King Ahasuerus. There was a man by the name of Haman who was an Agagite, a heathen, and he was so pissed off at Mordecai, who was a Benjamite today. I know I'm going over a lot of stuff. Stay with me. Mordecai was a Benjamite, right? So-called West Indian today, and they were living under the Persians and the Medes. Haman hated Mordecai, all because of what? Because Mordecai did not bow to Haman. That's all it was. He didn't put hands on him. He didn't box him. He didn't do none of that. No, he just hated him because he wasn't a kiss ass. Salakia. That's all it was. And because of that, he wanted to hang Jews, the real Jews, by the way, the Israelites, on gallows. He wanted to kill and murder every single last Israelite simply because one didn't bow down to him. And then, of course, we can talk about Egypt and Pharaoh. The list goes on, right? The point being, right, why I'm going over this is that people will try to use the Bible against you because they hate you. They're going to tell you that you're a Canaanite. They're going to be brothers. And look, I'm going to keep it real with you. It's going to be brothers in the world from other tribes who are going to hate you because you have Hispanics who hate blacks. You have blacks that hate Hispanics. You have Native Indians that hate blacks. You get my point? I've seen so many posts of brothers saying, oh yeah, only the house of Judah is Israel. Hispanics and Native Indians have nothing to do with it. And I've seen vice versa. Only Hispanics and Native Indians are God's chosen people. All the black people, they're just nothing but dirty Africans and Canaanites. We're not like them. Come on, man. That's just self-hatred. Self-hatred. You understand? And the reason why I'm going over all these things is they try to use slavery. They try to use slavery as a weapon against you. But when you read the Bible, you'll see that it speaks of servitude very specifically, mostly for Israel. That's my point. This is about Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people. Because remember, it wasn't just Black people that were put in slavery. Mexicans were put in slavery. Native Indians were put in slavery. Hell, I'm saying word like it's not still happening. There's Mexican children inside of cages right now. You get my point? Like, there's like when the Haitians who are from the tribe of Levi, again, showing you more that we're the Israelites, when they tried to enter this country, they were pursuing them on horsebacks and whipping them. The Mexicans down in Mexico, they had to help hide some of the Haitians because Border Patrol was going for them. You get my point? And let's not even talk about what happened to the Native Indians because, I mean, come on, man. This is just basic history. You learn this in school, for Christ's sake. But my point being is, right, this is about you. Don't let anybody try to use the Bible against you. Because if you're not properly educated, you'll get tripped up on stuff like this. Now, if I could, let's see. Let's go a little bit more. Stay in Deuteronomy, right? Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's go to verse. Ooh, I like this one. 49. Go to verse 49.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth.
Right.
As swift as the eagle flieth.
Hold up. Say that one more time.
As swift as the eagle flieth.
A
nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Now, again, this is oddly specific. It's almost uncanny because this sounds about right about what happens to so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people. It says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Hint, hint. What is the symbol for America? What you got out?
Bald eagle.
It's the bald eagle. I know some people are like, you're a conspiracy theorist here. Okay, let's read a little bit more, right? As swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, meaning they speak a language that is not yours. You don't understand. Like, we didn't speak English. Native Indians and Hispanics didn't speak English. They didn't speak not just English, they didn't speak Spanish. Remember, it wasn't just America. Remember, Spain, right? Haitians speak Creole, which is broken French, I believe, right? The French was oppressing them. Then you have the Dutch. You have the Portuguese. Hello, for our South American brothers and sisters. The list goes on. Those were not our native tongues, you understand? But this is why it's good to edify yourself on the Bible, because they'll try to call you something that you're not. They'll use anything against you, right? It's already been proven, right? I was doing some research. It's already been proven that Christians deliberately tried to use the curse of Ham as a justification for enslaving Black people. Literally. That's what they do. They're not going to tell you you're an Israelite. They won't tell you that it speaks of slavery far more with Israel. They'll stick strictly with that. And so not only are they trying to justify their actions, which shows the nature of who they are, they're lying to you yet again. You get my point? Now, here's the thing. Let's see. Do I want more on that? Give me the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68. Go all the way down to verse 68.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68. The Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Now it says, Salakia, it says Egypt again, right? Now remember, this is in Deuteronomy. This is after Exodus. In Exodus, it talks about how the Israelites were in captivity under Pharaoh in Egypt. For those of y'all who don't know, Exodus means departure, meaning that we were departing from Egypt. Because remember, Moses and Aaron were sent down by the Most High. So to come get us out of there. You get my point? Now, it says you're going to be in Egypt again. What's another word for Egypt? What does Egypt mean? You don't remember? Okay, I got you. So another word for Egypt is bondage. So slavery. So it says that you're going to be put in Egypt again. Did we actually go and be put in bondage in Egypt again? No. We left Egypt. So let's keep reading.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. Yet there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
And no man shall buy you. Now let's see. Let's read this real quick. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again, bondage, slavery again with ships, transatlantic slave trade. It wasn't just America. They were selling slaves off to Cuba, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Mexico, of course, North America, Haiti, Brazil. Like, come on, man. It keeps going. But nothing that are checking in from New York. All right, shalom on crisis. So my point being, again, this is very, very specific. Again, this is all talking about the seed of Abraham. This has nothing to do with Canaan. You understand? Right? Now, Let's see. Let's keep going. Let's see. By the way thereof I speak unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies again, because we were sold to our enemies. And it says, for bondmen and bondwoman, bondage for man and woman, slavery for man and woman. And then it says, and no man shall buy you. Now, here's the thing, people bought slaves. People bought slaves, but they didn't consider you human. You understand? You remember at one point, I believe it took 3 black people to I think it was like 1 to 4 or 1 to 3 black people to equal 1 white person. And remember, at one point, they also referred to so-called Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, and black people as the equivalent of dogs. They didn't think you were human. You were so far beneath them. That was their way of thinking of you. You understand? But again, this is not talking about Canaan. This is talking about the seed of Abraham. You understand? Now, to get a little bit more context on that, give me Revelation chapter 11. Let's see, Revelation 11 and 8. Let's go to Revelation 11 and 8 to show you yet again that this did not mean that you were literally going to go back to Egypt, because that's not what happened. So go read Revelation chapter 11, verse 8.
The book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. So spiritually, you're going to be in bondage. And it speaks of Sodom. So for those of y'all who don't remember, Sodom and Gomorrah, there was a lot of homosexuality and pedophilia and just disgusting, unlawful sex that was going on, right? What does that sound like today? Your modern day Babylon, America. Not even just America, just all over the world. But I'm in America right now, so I'll just stick with that, right? Spiritually, America is Egypt and Sodom. Now, could you read it from the top one more time, Baba Kasho?
Oh, God. The book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
So it said our bodies are going to lay in the street, right? So who's that sound like? Sounds like us. Y'all remember George Floyd, right? Yeah, well, the things that happened to George Floyd happened to so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians on the daily. You understand? That's what happens to our people. So this is not talking about Canaan. This isn't talking about the Egyptians. This isn't talking about Esau. This isn't talking about the Moabites or the Ammonites. This is strictly talking about the lineage of Israel, the seed of Abraham and Isaac. You understand? This is what your Christian pastor won't tell you. And this is what people who hate their brothers will tell you out in the world. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you something else real quick. You got your Apocrypha with you? I'm going to show y'all something that a lot of people might not catch this. So go to the book of Susanna and go all the way to verse 56. I'm going to show y'all something. The book of Susanna, and there's only one chapter, so you just go straight to verse 56. Should be like towards the end. No, you too wild. Of the book of Susanna, chapter 1. There's only one chapter.
Verse
56. Go ahead.
The history of Susanna?
Slagia, yeah. History of Susanna.
The history of Susanna, chapter 1, verse 56. So he put him aside and commanded to bring the other and said unto him, O thou seed of Canaan.
Seed of who?
Seed of Canaan.
Go ahead.
And not of Judah.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Something strange. This is why you need a good understanding of the Bible, because Canaan, right? We understand that Judah right, was one of the 12 tribes under Jacob. What does Canaan have to do with anything? Now, if those of y'all who don't remember, this is during the time where Susanna was being falsely accused of sleeping with another man. And it was really because two false prophets, one of them, I believe, was a Canaanite, wanted to have sex with her and she refused. So they tried to lie about her. Ultimately, they ended up getting found out because the sister prayed onto the Most High. She was a Judite, by the way. And those men were dealt with. They got killed. Now, my point being is, why did the Bible feel the need to differentiate between Canaan and Judah? It could have just said son of Canaan and just left it at that. Why did it feel the need to put not of Judah? Why did the Bible feel the need to differentiate between the two? Because one's not like the other. However, you might look like one another. Perfect example, right? The so-called Chinese and Japanese. Now, according to everybody else, we just classify them as Asian. We just call them Asian, right? However, if you call a Chinese person Japanese, they get offended. Like, real talk. You call a Japanese person a Chinese person, they get offended. Some of them are a little bit more polite about it, but it kind of rubs them the wrong way a little bit, because deep down in their spirit, they know that they are not the same nation, even though they look similar. Let me break it down for you even a little bit more, right? In the book of Esther, right, people didn't know that Esther was a Jew. They didn't know that she was an Israelite until she said something. When she revealed it, then everybody knew. But my thing is, wait a minute. How could people not know that you were an Israelite? Wouldn't you have some type of distinction on you to show that you're an Israelite? Don't we have a look of some source or whatever? No. Here's the thing. We have plenty of brothers and sisters that look very different. She was able to hide amongst the people because she looked similar to other people. Hence why in the book of Susanna, or it's like, was it the history of Susanna? The history of Susanna, the water. In chapter 1, verse 56, it says, son of Canaan, but not of Judah. Why was it put there? It could have compared to, first of all, it could have compared them to no tribes. Could have just said Canaan. Also, it could have compared it to any other tribe. It could have said Reuben. It could have said Gad. It could have said Naphtali or Issachar or whatever tribe, right? But it specifically said Judah because Canaan and Judah look similar. Black people, so-called, right, and Africans, we look similar to most people. Now, to us, we know that, there's a difference between us. We can tell like certain facial features. I think even their skull is shaped differently than ours, right? We can tell the difference usually, but to the average person, they can't tell the difference. They just see a black person, oh, African American. That's it. That's why it's good to educate yourself on the Bible, because we know that there is a difference between so-called black people and Africans. Also, let's see, give me the book of Hosea, chapter 7, verse 8, right? To go a little bit more in depth, because a lot of times the problem with our people is colorism. It's colorism, right? I see brothers that say, oh, no, only black people are the lost tribes of Israel. Then I see, oh, no, only so-called Hispanics and natives are the only ones, because you base it all off of color. Remember, in the Bible, it refers to David as ruddy. Now, I see some people try to twist this, right? Because ruddy does mean red. And then also, what does Esau mean? I just gave you the answer. What is it?
Red.
Red means red, because he was born red and hairy all over. Now, this is why you need to educate yourself, because ruddy, remember, it doesn't say that Esau was born ruddy. It says that he was specifically born red. But for David, he was described as ruddy. When you read the Zondervan's, it says ruddy can mean red, yes, but it also says or of a fair complexion, in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. Meaning what? What do black people call light-skinned black people? Usually towards a woman. What you got?
Mulatto?
Not mulatto. Just think, well, okay, what's a term that brothers would use to call like a pretty light-skinned woman?
Light bright.
No, not light bright. Okay. I'll give you a hint. Oh, what you got?
Red bone.
There you go. Red bone. There you go. No, you got it. You got it. Red bone, yellow bone, whatever. We say red bone because she's lighter. You never really hear of a brother calling a brother a red bone. That's kind of sus, Salakia. But usually we use that term for a sister. Oh, she's lighter. She's light-skinned. She's a red bone because she's of a fair complexion. Fair complexion is actually defined as being of a lighter skin tone. But it's not necessarily meaning, I can't say white because that's not what it is. We call Caucasians so-called white people today, but really they're red. Like I go to my new slave now, and there's this one Edomite. I mean, you could tell he's an Edomite. Like I'm talking like hairy, and again, when they stand out in the sun, what happens? They turn red. They don't tan unless they get like the chemicals and spray tan and all that stuff. But naturally, so-called white people do not tan. They turn red. They blister and get sunburned in the sun. You get my point? Now, why am I going over this? Because black people, Hispanics, and Native Indians can be of a different complexion. Now, if you could give me Hosea 7 and 8.
The book of Hosea, chapter 7, verse 8.
Go ahead.
Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people.
Mm-hmm.
Ephraim is a cake not turned.
Now, this is a cold one. This is how you know this is a black book, because it's using slang, right? So Ephraim would be your so-called Puerto Ricans today, right? You can classify them as so-called Afro-Latinos or Hispanic. Now, brothers in the world, we know, like, look, Ephraim could look like anybody. Look, personally, look, I'm from the East Coast, right? Ephraim is all out there. I know brothers who are Ephraimites and look like me. I know brothers that look darker than me. Then I see some Ephraimites and they're like, they look like this paper. You get my point? But they still a brother. They still a sister. They come in every different shade. Again, it goes to that term, a cake not turned. Best way I could describe it for you, right? You cooking pancakes. When you cook pancakes, right, and you don't flip it, one side is not cooked. So obviously that's going to be the lighter side. When you don't flip it, one side is cooking. So the longer you let it cook, the darker it gets. Hence, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people, because this isn't just Ephraim, by the way. You could classify this with all of Israel, because Black people don't look the same. If I could, Priest and Officer Karatazar, he's a Judite. I'm a Judite too, but he's way lighter than me. Does that mean that he's not a brother? Does that mean that I'm a Canaanite? No. We still brothers. Same nation, same tribe. Shoot. So, but we look different. I know some people will say, oh, well, that's because, the white man mixed up with you. Not necessarily, because we had light-skinned Black people even before slavery, right? So, matter of fact, to show you that, let me see. We get some. Go to the book of Ezekiel. Go to chapter 37. Let me get the verse for you real quick.
Verse 1?
Not verse 1. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I believe it is. Go to verse, I think it's 17. Go to verse 17.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 17. And join them one to another into one stick.
Into one stick, go ahead.
And they shall become one in thy hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not shew us what thou meanest by these? Saying unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim.
Ephraim, okay, so we're talking about Ephraim, go ahead.
And the tribes of Israel, fellows.
The tribes of Israel, his fellows, keep going.
And will put them with them. Even with the stick of Judah.
Even with who?
Even with the stick of Judah.
Even with the stick of Judah. So what this is talking about is Ephraim, Israel, and Judah, right? Being conjoined all together. We are all one. It doesn't matter if you're from Ephraim or Judah or Simeon or Gad or Reuben or Manasseh. It doesn't matter. If you are an Israelite, you are an Israelite. That's it. Different tribe, same nation. That's what brothers and sisters got to stop doing today. Stop looking for differences between one another. Oh, you're too dark. You're too light. You're Mexican. You're not one of us. You're Puerto Rican. You're black. You're Dominican. Little do you know you're all the same people, and the white man has got inside your head and told you that you are not of the same people. And you end up hating and killing your own brothers. Hell, you be killing brothers in your own tribe. Black people will be killing one another all the damn time for petty stuff, right? My whole point being is this scripture right here. Matter of fact, skip down to verse, I think it's 19. Go to verse 19. Was that 19?
Come on.
Oh, damn, I thought I said 17. So lucky, my fault.
Oh, so lucky. We're in the middle of verse 19.
You're in the middle of it?
Yeah, like stuff.
Okay, keep reading.
And they shall be in one hand, Salaki, and they shall be one in mine hand.
Mm-hmm.
And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes.
Is that it for 19?
Oh, come, that was the end of verse 20.
That's okay. All right, Thawada. So I'm gonna read it one more time, right? So the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 19, it says, "Say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is the hand of Ephraim, right, and the tribes, plural, of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick. You are the same nation. Stop differentiating because of your color. You are an Israelite by blood. All right, don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Right. Also, I want to get into a couple more things before we end the class. Right, I'm gonna try to speed it up. So we just read in what was it? Hosea 7 and 8, right, where we talked about how Ephraim is a cake not turned. So obviously we have Israelites who can be light skinned, right? But then it also says because it's not turned, obviously it's going to be darker. I bumped into so many fake Israelites who try to say that the real Hebrews can't be dark skinned. And I'm just like, do you not know how many verses in the Bible that literally tell you that we're dark skinned? Now, this is why it's very important to educate yourself on the Bible. Give me Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I'm gonna show you something, right? I'm gonna show you why people say this. Because remember, the Bible originally was not made in English, right? So there are some things that get taken out of context. So I want to show y'all some things.
Songs what?
Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5.
The book of Psalms, chapter 1, verse 5.
You said Psalms or Songs of Solomon? No, Songs of Solomon.
Oh, Salaki, I thought you said Psalms.
Oh, no, Salaki. Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. You too wild. Just let me know when you get it.
Salaki, is that in the Apocrypha?
Songs of Solomon?
Come.
Let me see. I believe that's actually in the Bible. It shouldn't be.
Wisdom of Solomon?
No, Wisdom of Solomon. Let me see.
Wow, Salaki.
It should be right before Isaiah. Yeah, Song of Solomon.
Verse 5?
Yep, 1 and verse 5.
The Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem.
Now it says, I am black, but comely, right? Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because some fake Israelite tried to use this against me and he ended up cutting himself. So right here, right? Now, I suggest that anybody that doesn't have it, I suggest you download the Blue Letter Bible, right? Because this will show you some of the meanings, because one word can mean many things, right? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to go into Song of Solomon, and I'm going to go to chapter 1, verse 5 in the Blue Letter Bible, right? Now I'm going to go to the word black. Now, things can be they can be taken out of context, right? So now in 1 in verse, let's see, 5, let's see. Actually, Salakia, hold on. Give me 1 second. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Let's see. There it is. Okay. So one of the definitions for black, right? It could have a couple of meanings. One of those meanings could be to mourn, be dark, to be dark, to darken, or to cause to mourn. So let's see, I believe it's Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2, where it says that Judah is black unto the ground. So in that context, it's actually saying that they were mourning, right? So some people will try to tell you, oh, well, that's what it means. It means that they were mourning. It doesn't mean that they were actually dark skinned. So there you go. They can't be dark skinned because even it says that David was ruddy. But we just read in the Zondervans that ruddy is red or fair complexion in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews, right? Now, this is why it's important to read and get in class, right? So now go down one verse and read verse 6 if you could, Baba Kashab.
Come on. The Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 6.
Mm-hmm.
Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun had looked upon me.
Now you can stop right there. Now in Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 6, right? It says that, again, look not upon me because I am black. Now, let's go to this and show everybody something. We're going to go to the word black again. Now let's see how the word is used in this context. So it gives you the Hebrew definition. So it says blackish, used of the color of the skin. So in that context, this is one of the few times in the Bible where they're being literal. They literally meant they have dark skin. Now I've even bumped into some people that try to do this, right? They try to take that out of context. Now they try to tell you, right? Let's see, I'm gonna read it. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. So they try to say, oh, well, that doesn't mean that they were black because they were literally black. It meant that they were dark because the sun was hitting them. Let's use some common sense. What happens to black people when they stand in the sun? You get darker. What happens to light-skinned black people when they stand in the sun? They get dark. Black people, Hispanic people, and Native Indian people, we tan. We can get darker. White people do not do that. They turn red. They blister. You get my point? They get sunburn. Now, if this was talking about an Edomite, well, it would say that they were burning or something. Also, oh my goodness, this was another one too. You don't even got to go to this one. So I'll talk about one of the most famous verses, of course, illustrating that so-called Slakia, illustrating that Jesus Christ, or Yahushua Mashiach in the Hebrew, is a black man, right? Or has a darker skin tone. So I've seen somebody try to twist this narrative. Now, it will say skin as, let me see, matter of fact, I'll read it myself, Salakia. Let me see. Was it Revelation 1 and 14? Right? This is this was funny to me because somebody really tried this. Let's see. Revelation chapter 1, verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if burned in a furnace. Now, I couldn't believe somebody actually tried to do this. So when it says his feet like unto fine brass, as burned, as if they burned in a furnace, somebody tried to say that can't mean that he was dark. It means that he was red. And I'm like, how? So they showed molten melted metal, melted brass. I'm not a welder, but I have worked with brothers who have welded due to my service. Of course, when you heat up metal to a certain degree, yeah, it's going to melt. It'll turn bright red. But notice it says burned brass, not melted, not on fire, not liquidated brass, burned brass. You take brass, brass is brown. If you burn it, it gets darker. You can literally type in burned brass in Google and you'll see pictures of brass that have been burned and it gets dark. I'm telling you, man, people will try to do anything that they can to make you feel like you're not the biblical people. And one more thing I want to cover before the end of class. This was, oh my goodness, this was funny to me. So somebody tried to tell me, right, that Edomites can be a part of Israel. One of the dumbest things I heard, right? And this is why they said that. This is why. This was hilarious to me. If I could, brother, could you give me Genesis chapter 36, verse 15? Again, this is why you need to get in class, because you're not, to the average person, this will trip somebody up. This will trip somebody up right here. So the book of Genesis chapter 36, verse 15.
The book of Genesis chapter 36, verse 15.
Go ahead.
These were the dukes of the sons of Esau.
So these are talking about the sons of Esau. As we already know, Esau is the progenitor of the so-called white race. Go ahead.
The sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau.
Right.
Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz.
Yes, so Duke Kenaz. Remember that name. Kenaz. So this is Genesis chapter 35. What was that, verse 19?
36, verse 15.
Oh, it's like it. Genesis 36 and 15, right? So it's talking about this man by the name of Kenaz or Kenaz, right? So now drop that. Give me Judges 3 and 9. Let me show you what somebody who doesn't know the Bible tries to do. Because, by the way, this is what happens when you love Esau. This was a brother in the world who loved Edomites so much that he was looking for any reason to include Esau with the nation of Israel. So it'll be Judges 3 and 9.
Come on.
Go ahead.
The book of Judges, chapter 3, verse 9. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel.
All right.
Who delivered them, even Othniel. The son of Kenaz.
The son of who?
The son of Kenaz.
The son of Kenaz. Keep going.
Caleb's younger brother.
Caleb's younger brother. That's strange because we didn't read about a Caleb, right? The Kenaz that we just read was talking about the son of Esau, Duke Kenaz, actually. But now we're reading about Kenaz. We're reading about Kenaz again. Now, this time it's saying that Othniel, right? Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. But it didn't mention a Caleb. So is this talking about the same Kenaz? Now, you could drop that, right? Give me Numbers 13 and 6. Yep, Numbers 13 and 6. What does sister say? Even smell different in their body odor. Yeah, Most High in Christ is. Yeah, the sister talking about the difference between so-called black people and Africans, because, we're hygienic people. I'm just saying. But you can go read Numbers 13 and 6, right?
Come on. The book of Numbers, chapter 13, verse 6.
Of
the tribe of Judah.
Of the tribe of who?
Of the tribe of Judah.
Go ahead.
Caleb, the son of Jephunneh.
I think it's pronounced Jephunneh. So you can stop right there, right? So now in Numbers 13 and 6, it's talking about Caleb, who was from the tribe of Judah. Now, something's not making sense here, right? Now, remember, Othniel was the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. Caleb came from the house of Judah. So this would be your so-called black man today, right? Well, wouldn't that mean that Kenaz is Judah? But we just read earlier that Kenaz was the son of Esau. So which is it? Was he an Edomite or was he an Israelite? What you got?
An Edomite?
So I got something for you, right? Let me see. Was that it? Let's see. Brother. Okay, so now I got something for you. So this is going again in the Blue Letter Bible. I strongly suggest y'all download this app, right? So I'm going to type in right? I'm going to type in the word Kenaz in the Blue Letter Bible. I'm going to show y'all something. So Kenaz. I'm going to type it in. Let's see. You always want to click interlinear. Let's see. Let's see. Here we go. So Kenaz. So Kenaz actually means hunter or to hunt, to name, right? When you read it, it says the name of an Edomite, as we read, Duke Kenaz, who was the son of Esau. But then it also says, and of 2 Israelites, Kenaz. So would you look at that? The Kenazes that we were reading about were 2 different people. But because, Jakes in the world love Esau so damn much, they saw this and saw, oh, see, look, Kenaz, he was the son of Othniel. Oh, Slakia. Kenaz was the father of Othniel, and Othniel, Slakia, and Kenaz was the son of Esau. So that means that an Edomite was saved with Israel. So that means that Edomites can be with Israel. No, those were different Kenazes. You get my point? But see, nobody's going to be able to break that down in a Christian church. They'll tell you that that's the same person. Fake Israelites in the world will tell you that that's the same person because they want to save Esau. But when you're in the ISUPK and the Command and General Yohana, you learn and realize what the scriptures are actually saying. That's why it's good to study. It's good to stay in the school. And for those who are not in the school, because I know you're watching this class right now or will see it, and you're contemplating whether you should come to the ISUPK or not, I'm telling you, get in while you can because time is running short. I'm telling you, I think it's a game out here. But Salakia, that's all I got. And with that, let's see. I don't think anybody had any questions. Let me just make sure. You Jawab? Allergies. I feel you. Let's see. Make sure nobody got any questions. Okay. So, all right. So with that being said, I'm gonna end the class. The water for everybody that tuned in. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. All right, and with that, Amajim, just me up here. Put this up. La Yasharala, which means to Israel. Madim Apwanya Hakwadam, which means to stand and face the east. Let's see, for the sake of time, do the Lord's Prayer. Let's see. This is the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. This is the Lord's Prayer. Abanau, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Ayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakutka, Taba'ah, Azaka, Ayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa,
Kawa.
Ayah.
Ayah.
Washamayim.
Washamayim.
Latandanawa.
Latanyanawa.
Lakam.
Lakam.
Call.
Call.
Yawam.
Yawam.
Wasalaknawa.
Wasalaknawa.
Kabawathnawa.
Kabawatnawa.
Kasalaknawa.
Kasalaknawa.
Kabawathinawa.
Kabawatinawa.
Wala'a.
Wala'a.
Tabayanawa.
Tabiyanawa.
Wanasaiwan.
Wanasaiwan.
Abal.
Abal.
Hawashainawa.
Hawashainawa.
Mayan.
Ayun.
Rai.
Rai.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Laka.
Laka.
Amalakwa.
Amalakwa.
Waha'ala.
Wa'ala.
Watapara.
Watapara.
Lawalumium.
Wa'amalagin.
Aman.
Aman.
Now in the English, our Father,
Our Father,
it's like which art in heaven,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
thy kingdom come,
thy kingdom come,
thy will be done
thy will be done
in earth
in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily bread,
our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts
forgive us our debt
as we forgive our
as
debtors.
we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not
Lead us not
into temptation,
into temptation,
but deliver
but
us
deliver us
from evil.
from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
So be it.
So be it.
All right. Second time, just going to go to Psalms 83. Psalms 83 in the Hebrew, Alahayim.
Alahayim.
It's like all.
All.
Damaya.
Damaya.
Laka.
Laka.
All.
All.
Dakarash.
Dakarash.
Wa all.
Wa'al.
Dashakwat.
Dashakwat.
All.
All.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Hana.
Hana.
Awayabika.
Ayawabika.
Yahama.
Yahama.
Yawan.
Yawan.
Ra'ash.
Ra'ash.
I'll.
I'll.
Imaka.
Imaka.
Ya'ayamwa.
Ya'ayamwa.
Sawada.
Sawada.
Waita.
Wayata.
Daitazawa.
Etazawa.
I'll.
I'll.
Tazapawanyaka.
Tazapawanyaka.
Amorwa.
Amarwa.
Lakawa.
Lakawa.
Wanakakida.
Wanakakida.
Magoya.
Magoya.
Wala'a.
Wala'a.
Yazakar.
Yazakar.
Shum.
Shum.
Yasharala.
Yasharala.
Awada.
Ayawada.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Naitazawa.
Natazawa.
Laba.
Laba.
Yakadwa.
Yakadwa.
Ayaka.
Ayaka.
Baryah.
Barwa.
Yakarathwa.
Yakarathwa.
Ahalya.
Aharya.
Adawam.
Adawam.
Wa.
Wa.
Yashama'alim.
Yashama'ayim.
Mawa'aba.
Mawa'aba.
Wahagorian.
Wahagarian.
Gabal.
Gabal.
Wayamawan.
Wayamalak.
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 Kalashaf. Palashaf.
Palashah.
Am Yashabya.
Am Yeshabia.
Tazawar.
Tazawar.
Gum.
Gum.
Ashawar.
Ashawar.
Nalawa.
Nalawa.
Imum.
Ayamum.
Hayawa.
Haywa.
Zorawai.
Zarawai.
Salaki. Labunya.
Labunya.
Lawat.
Lawat.
Salah.
Salah.
Aisha.
Aisha.
Kamud. Oh, Salaki. Lahum.
Lahum.
Kamudyan.
Kamudyan.
Kasaya.
Kasaya.
Sara'ah.
Sara'ah.
Kayabyan.
Kayabyan.
Banakal.
Banakal.
Koyashwan.
Parashawan.
Nashad Madwa.
Mashad Bamwa.
Bayan.
Bayan.
Dara.
Dara.
Hayawa.
Haywa.
Daman.
Daman.
La Adama.
La Adama.
Shayatamwa.
Shaitamwa.
Nada.
Nada.
Yamawa.
Yamawa.
Kaira.
Kairab.
Because of Abba.
Kazaaba.
Because of Slaki. Because of Slaki. Because of Bak.
Wakazabah.
Because of Zol.
Wakazol.
Manai.
Manai.
Call.
Call.
Nasayakamwa.
Nasanyakum.
Ashar.
Shor.
Amorwa.
Amarwa.
Nayarasha.
Nayarasha.
Lanawa.
Lanawa.
Af.
Ah.
Nawaf.
Nawath.
Alahayim.
Alahayim.
Alahayat.
Alahayim.
Shayatamwa.
Shaitamwa.
Kagogala.
Kagogala.
Kakwash.
Kakwash.
Lapunya.
Lapunya.
Raka'a.
Raka'a.
Ka'ash.
Ka'ash.
Tabaira.
Tabaira.
Ya'ira.
Ya'ira.
Wa.
Wa.
Kalahaba.
Kalahaba.
Dalahat.
Dalahat.
Haryam.
Haryam.
Kun.
Kun.
Daradama.
Daradama.
Basairaka.
Basairaka.
Wabasa.
Wabasa.
Wapathka.
Wapathka.
Tabahalam.
Tabahalam.
Mala'ah.
Mala'ah.
Panyahum.
Panyahum.
Kwalawan.
Kwalawan.
Waya.
Waya.
Wakwashwa.
Kashwa.
Shimka.
Shimka.
Yahawa.
Yahawah.
Yabashwa.
Yabashwa.
Waya.
Waya.
Bahawa.
Bahawa.
Adya'ai.
Adya'ai.
Waya.
Waya.
Kaparwa.
Kaparwa.
Waya.
Waya.
Abadwa.
Abadwa.
Waya.
Waya.
Dayawa.
Dawa.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Atha.
Atha.
Shimka.
Shimka.
Yahawa.
Yahawah.
Labadka.
Labadka.
Iwan.
Iwan.
Alcohol.
Alka.
Harataza.
Harataza.
Now in the English, keep not thy silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still,
And be not still.
O God.
O God.
For lo,
lo,
thine enemies make atonement,
thine enemies make atonement.
and they that hate thee
And they that hate thee
have lifted up the head.
have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel
They have taken crafty counsel
against thy people,
against thy people,
and consulted
and consulted
against thy hidden ones.
against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
They have said,
Come,
Come,
and let us cut them off
let us cut them off
from being a nation,
from being a nation.
that the name of Israel
That the name of Israel
may be no more remembrance.
may be no more in remembrance.
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Salah. Do unto them as to the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like a red, and like Zaid. Yea, all their princes, as Zabah, and as Zalmunna, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of God in possession. Oh my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Lord, let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high over all the earth. All right, Yajim Matah, class dismissed. Shalom, Israel.